Discover the incredible moment her F-22 call sign transformed lives and earned salutes from SEALs. Emily Jensen stood in front of the microphone, heart pounding like an F-22 in full throttle. The town hall buzzed with excitement, the air thick with expectation. She was just a small-town single mom, yet here she was, moments away from receiving her call sign, Falcon. The weight of it pressed on her chest, mixing with hope and fear. As her name echoed, she felt the eyes of military veterans and townsfolk alike focused on her, their breaths held tight in anticipation. When the mayor announced her honor, cheers erupted. Falcon! They shouted. It was not just a name, it was a promise, a call to rise above, to soar high above the hardships she faced daily while juggling 2 jobs to support her daughter, Lily. Tears threatened to spill as she caught the eye of her 12-year-old daughter in the crowd. Lily beamed with pride, her smile bright enough to pierce through the clouds of doubt that often veiled Emily's heart. After the ceremony concluded, Emily felt a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty wash over her. Here was her chance to advocate for veterans, to honor their sacrifices, something she was passionate about as a former teacher. But what if the town, her neighbors, didn't support her newfound ambition? Emily's optimism flickered like a dying candle in a storm. The whispers had already begun, the murmur of skepticism lurking in corners. Who does she think she is? They would say. A single mom trying to be a hero. Over time, that doubt not only haunted Emily but seeped into her home as tension thickened between her and her estranged brother, Jake. He had returned from his own battles as a decorated Navy SEAL, but the demons he brought with him seemed to have taken residence in their childhood home. Each time she mentioned the veteran advocacy group she hoped to start, Jake frowned, his hawk-like eyes narrowing. You can't just walk into their world, Em. You have to understand what it means. But I do, Emily insisted, her voice trembling with conviction. I want to help. Their arguments turned raw, unearthing old family wounds that were meant to stay buried. The sacrifices their parents made loomed like a shadow over them, amplifying their growing distance. Just as Emily was embracing her new role, tragedy struck. A much-anticipated fundraiser for veterans faced the threat of cancellation due to a lack of funding. The anxiety set in, curling around Emily's chest. Falcon wasn't just a call sign, it was the rallying cry of her community. She couldn't let it falter. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Emily's mind raced. She quickly reached out to fellow veterans, gathered volunteers, and together they crafted a rescue mission. It felt insane, like flying into a storm unprepared, but she couldn't turn back. The moment peaked at a chaotic fundraiser, where an unexpected accident left townsfolk and veterans shaken. Here was her moment to rise. Here was her chance to prove they could weather any storm together. As chaos unfolded, Emily's resolve hardened. She had to bridge the divide with Jake, to show him her commitment only elevated their shared history and not sullied it. In that moment of crisis, did they stand together, or did they allow the fractures of their past to pull them further apart? She knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but the stakes were higher than ever. Can I really pull this off? She whispered, but the echo of Falcon reminded her this was just the beginning of something greater. Would this struggle bring her brother home, or would it push him away for good? The noise in the town hall swelled like a crescendo, a mix of concerned voices blending with the clatter of fallen chairs. Standing beneath the bright fluorescent lights, Emily fought through the panic gripping her. It felt as if the ground beneath her was shifting, and she was struggling to find her footing while everything threatened to spin out of control. Someone needs to take charge. A voice shouted from the crowd, urgency lacing each word. Emily took a deep breath and stepped forward, palms sweaty against the smooth wood of the podium. "Everyone, please." Her voice cracked, but the room grew quiet, expectant stares forcing her to rise to her own challenge. "I know this feels overwhelming, but we're all in this together." She scanned the crowd, noting the concern in their eyes. "This fundraiser isn't just an event. It's our way of showing support to those who wore the uniform, who fought for us. I'll need your help." Lily's face glistened in the mix of dim light. She looked so small and helpless yet so filled with trust and hope. That glance bolstered Emily's resolve she couldn't let her daughter witness defeat. As discussions broke out around planning a new approach, Emily's heart raced. Many were willing to help, but whispers of doubt still lingered. How could a single mom handle this? They whispered under their breath. The voices turned into echoes of her own insecurity, reminding her of every moment she had ever doubted herself. Just then, Jake appeared at the fringe of the gathering, his demeanor stormy. "What are you doing here, Em?" he asked, irritation thick in his voice. "You can't just rally people like this. Jake, we need everyone's hands on deck. I understand veterans because I grew up with one." She pointed back toward their past, the laughter and fights they shared as siblings, hoping to dredge up memories that would connect them. But his expression remained distant. "I'm not going to let you put yourself on the line for something you don't fully grasp. You think wearing Falcon makes it all okay?" His voice barked, and disappointment radiated off him like heat from asphalt. The tense silence wrapped around them, suffocating. Emily's heart sank, but the ache transformed into a spark of defiance. "I'm not just playing dress-up, Jake. This is my chance to honor all you've done." She saw his hardened expression flicker for a brief moment, a fracture in his resolve. Maybe it was the memories of their parents' sacrifices or their childhood they had once shared. The flicker reignited something inside her, a need to break through the wall of resentment. "Please. Help me make this happen. You've faced battles I can't even imagine, but together, we can show everyone what this symbol means. For all of us." He stood there, contemplating, caught between his protective instincts and the sister he wanted to remember. Emily held her breath, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. She wanted to bridge the gap that war had carved into their lives, to find a way to tear down those walls of distrust. "Yes, it will be hard," she implored, "but if we can't stand together now, when will we?" Jake's resolve hung in the air like a storm cloud, but Emily could see tendrils of uncertainty start to soften his stance. She needed this. They could do this together. The crowd was still, the urgency held steady, yet alive with potential. Would he step forward and unite with her? Or would their past haunt them all the way to the end? As silence enveloped the hall once more, the reality loomed. This was a moment where lives could be changed, where they could either soar or crumble. "Can we move forward together?" Emily whispered to herself, not sure if she was asking Jake or the universe. In the depths of uncertainty, one thought emerged unyielding: this fight to save a community wouldn't just change lives, but could change her own. But was she strong enough to carry the weight of both? As Jake shifted, indecision in his eyes, Emily braced herself for whatever came next. The silence in the town hall felt electric, like a taut wire ready to spark. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she held her breath, her eyes locked on Jake. Time stretched out like an elastic band, each second heavy with unspoken words. Finally, he exhaled sharply, breaking the silence. "Fine, I'll help you," he said, his voice low yet firm, saturated with reluctant approval. The small declaration burst like a balloon of tension, and a ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Hope flickered to life in their expressions, illuminating the dread that had settled over them moments before. "Really?" Emily couldn't help the disbelief that danced in her voice. "You mean it?" Jake nodded slowly, his gaze softened just a fraction. "Don't make me regret it." With a surge of gratitude, she managed a smile, and it felt like a dam breaking. She stepped back and leaned on the podium, gesturing for the crowd to lend their ears once more. "We need to organize. With Jake's experience and our community's strength, we can make this fundraiser something unforgettable. Cheers erupted, and for the first time that evening, the air felt lighter. Emily stood a little taller, despite the quaking in her knees. Let's divide into teams, she suggested, her voice rising with excitement. We'll need people for logistics, marketing, and outreach. And let us not forget our veteran stories, we have to honor them right. The crowd buzzed with energy, eyes brightening as discussions erupted based on her words. Lily's tiny hand gripped Emily's for support as they moved to the front of the room, tackling the first task, building a committee. To Emily's surprise, even people she barely knew stepped forward, eager to contribute. There was Cooper from the diner, ready to handle the food. Old Mrs. Thompson offered her garage for storage, while a retired teacher volunteered to organize a poster campaign. The solidarity began to change the atmosphere. It was as if bright colors splashed against an old, monotone landscape. Laughter started to rise during planning sessions, just moments before bringing them to frantic laughter to calm their nerves, but Jake remained on the periphery, helping yet not fully engaged, arms crossed over his falcon shirt. His protective instincts kicked in as he watched Emily take charge, like a lion hovering nearby to defend its cub. She could feel his presence, the weight of it anchoring her even when she saw the tightness in his jaw. It wasn't enough, though. She needed Jake to believe again. After the meeting wrapped, Emily took a deep breath and approached him. Hey. Can I talk to you for a second? Not much to say that's gonna change anything, he replied, folding his arms tighter. Can't you see? The people are coming together. It's beautiful. She hesitated before urging, I know you want to protect me. But this is my chance to stand up, Jake. Can't you remember how it felt to be united? To fight for something that mattered? I just don't want you to get hurt, he replied quietly, his eyes searching hers. Tears threatened to well up as she stepped closer. I want to honor you, and everyone else who served. Help me, please. We could make a difference not just for this fundraiser, but for you and me, too. The flicker of resistance was there this time, a slow thawing of walls that had long shadowed their relationship. She hoped desperately that this moment could mark their shift, a bubbling cauldron of potential simmering beneath. As the night wore on, every face in the hall blurred into a tapestry of hope and resolve. Emily sensed something stirring within her, the weight of carrying these dreams didn't seem so heavy anymore. The fire inside her flickered and sparked, buoyed by the smile of her daughter and the support around her. Was it possible they could transform the hurt and distance into something stronger? But just as she was about to ask Jake to lead alongside her, a distant siren cut through the air like a knife. What if the past echoed louder than she thought? What secrets still hid in the shadows of their lives? Emily jumped, startled by the wail of the siren slicing through the comforting buzz of the meeting. The noise felt like an unwelcome reminder of the chaos that often lurked just beneath the surface. A sense of foreboding washed over her. Jake's face tightened, and Emily saw the flash of recognition in his eyes. He turned his gaze to the exit, the sound resonating through the hall as if it were calling out to him personally. She reached out, placing a tentative hand on his arm. Jake, wait, she pleaded, voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, looking down at her hand, then back to the door. I can't just sit here and ignore it, he said, his determination rising even amid the swirling uncertainty. Her heart sank. She wanted him to remain, to help them, to embrace the community they were building. But there was that shadow in his eyes again, the weight of something long buried threatening to surface. Whatever it is, we can face it together, she urged, urgency filling her voice. But the siren faded into the night, leaving only echoes of unease. Jake's shoulders relaxed slightly, but she could still sense a storm brewing in his heart. He took a deep breath before turning back to the crowd, a flicker of commitment reflecting in his eyes. You're right. I need to believe. Emily felt warmth surge through her at his words. Perhaps tonight could mark a new beginning for both of them. We'll get through this together, even if it's messy, she said, a smile breaking through her anxiety. Without warning, the hall suddenly erupted with a strong voice calling from the back. "Excuse me." It was Cooper, lifting a hand to draw attention. "Can someone fill me in on what's happening? I heard something serious outside." Several heads turned, exchanging worried glances. The night that had begun in uncertainty shifted again, teetering on the brink of chaos. Emily climbed back onto the podium, her mind racing as she scanned the crowd. "We'll all know soon enough," she said, gripping the edges tightly. "But let us stay focused. We're working on something important here." A stray thought drifted through her mind, a fear about what would pull Jake away from this moment. "Everyone deserves a chance to fight for what's right," she said, trying to shake off the heaviness. "Let us honor that spirit here tonight." But even as she spoke, the knot in her stomach twisted tighter. Soon, whispers spread like wildfire. "I heard it was about a crash. An accident down by the old post office." Panic crept through the hall, collecting in anxious breaths. Lily clung to Emily's side, her wide eyes mirroring the tension that rippled through the room. "Mom, what's wrong?" she whispered, squeezing Emily's hand. Emily sighed, forcing a smile. "Just a little commotion, sweetheart. Nothing to worry about." But as she glanced at Jake, she could see the turmoil behind his steely facade. He was waging a battle she couldn't fully grasp. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a group of men and women in uniform stepped inside. The room fell silent, all eyes turning towards them. Jake's expression shifted, all traces of warmth replaced by a cold determination. In that moment, Emily's heart raced at the thought of what this might mean. Each second slowed as she sensed a storm brewing within Jake, like a thunderclap waiting to echo through their lives. What had just emerged in the silence could bring them all crashing back into the past, unearthing truths that long lay dormant. Would the strength they had built be strong enough to weather this new storm? The tension in the room was palpable as the uniformed figures approached the podium, a heavy aura of authority surrounding them. Emily could feel the fear creeping in, tighter than ever. She glanced at Jake, his face a mask of bravery, but she could see the cracks beginning to form. "Friends," one of the officers began, his voice steady yet somber. "We regret to inform you of a serious incident at the old post office." He paused, scanning the crowd, the weight of his words hanging in the air. A vehicle crashed into a group of people standing near the entrance. A sharp gasp cut through the room, disbelief mingling with horror. Emily's heart dropped, images flashing through her mind of her community, her friends. Could anyone have been hurt? Her thoughts immediately flicked to Lily, who pressed herself closer to her mother, eyes wide and uncomprehending. What happened? Emily forced herself to ask, voice trembling slightly. "It was an accident," the officer replied, visibly trying to maintain composure. "But there are injured people, and we need volunteers to help with the medical response." Jake's body shifted next to her. "I need to go," he said quietly, but with a new urgency that made her stomach churn. "No, Jake, please." "Not now," Emily whispered, panic spilling into her words. "Stay here with us. We need you." He turned, his green eyes filled with an intensity that made her heart ache. "I'm going to help." "I have to," he insisted. The siren's echo filled the recesses of Emily's mind. This was the moment the storm she had sensed was finally here. She couldn't stand the thought of losing him to yet another calling, to the dangerous unknown. She had already lost so much. "Emily, listen to me." His voice softened, peeling back layers of determination to reveal vulnerability beneath. "I can't just ignore what's happening out there." Their eyes locked, and for one brief moment, the chaos fell away. She could see the resolve coursing through him, the need to protect, to act. "I want to be with you," she murmured, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Then let me do this. You'll always be with me, no matter what." The crowd around them had started to come alive, voices lifting up in a collective stir. Emily cherished that honest connection. This was the heart of their community, the willingness to rally in times of need. With a final look, a mixture of encouragement and sorrow written across both their faces, Jake turned toward the exit. The officers were gathering information, preparing for the rush of volunteers they needed. Before he stepped outside, he turned back, eyes burning with determination. "We'll get through this, Emily. Together." He disappeared into the night, and in that moment, her heart was torn between pride and fear. The hall was transforming. People were standing, shuffling toward the exit with newfound urgency. Lily tugged at Emily's sleeve, curious yet frightened. "Mom, is he gonna be okay?" Emily knelt down, panic masked by the smile she tried her hardest to maintain. "He is helping, sweet girl. Helping the people who need it most." As more people stirred, she felt the bustle of neighborliness around her, a reminder that this was more than just a meeting tonight, it was a lifeline. With every heart that beat in the crowd, there was hope, but as Emily looked towards the door, anxiety crashed over her like the tide. Would Jake be all right? Would they face the truth of their past amid the wreckage of the night ahead, and most hauntingly, would the strength they had built together survive the fallout? She took a deep breath, holding Lily close, hoping with everything in her that this was not the beginning of a deeper storm, but a call to rise. The hall quickly emptied, filled only with murmurs and anxious glances. Emily stood frozen for a moment, clutching Lily's small hand in hers. She could feel the weight of the night pressing down on her, heavy and suffocating. The air buzzed with the remnants of whispered conversations, a mix of fear and determination sweeping through the remaining crowd. "Let us go, Mom," Lily tugged gently, her youthful voice unusual in its own urgency. Emily blinked, shifting her focus to her daughter. "Okay, let us find the others." The little girl tugged her towards the exit, her small feet hurrying to match the quick paces of those around them. As they stepped outside, the sight was overwhelming. The street was filled with flashing lights, red, blue, and white, each illuminating the darkening night sky, a chaotic dance of color against the backdrop of the stillness that followed a storm. First responders dashed past, driven by an unrelenting commitment to their duty, their faces grim and concentrated. Emily's chest tightened as she pushed back the rising tide of worry. "We just have to stay calm," she murmured, more to herself than to Lily. "Jake is strong. He'll be okay." But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at her. She could see families hugging one another, their faces etched with concern. Friends held tight as they whispered prayers into the cold night air, searching for answers, seeking strength. "Is he really strong, Mom?" Lily asked, tilting her head up to meet her mother's eyes, innocence intermingling with fear. "What if he's hurt?" Emily knelt down to her level, searching for the right words. "He is strong because he cares. And he is helping the people who need him." But even as she spoke, a wave of doubt surged through her. What if her comforting words didn't hold up? Lily bit her lip, anchoring herself to her mother's side. "I want to help too. I can help." The innocence in her voice sparked a flicker of hope in Emily's heart. "You're right. We can both help. Let us find out what they need, okay?" They stepped closer to where the medical response teams were setting up, the air thick with anxiety and urgency. A group of volunteers was already preparing supplies, distributing blankets and water. Emily's heart quickened as she saw an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, struggling to carry a box filled with first aid kit supplies. "Here, let us go help Mrs. Jensen," Emily called out. She took Lily's hand firmly, and together they rushed over. "Dear, thank you so much," Mrs. Jensen exclaimed, relief washing over her face. "It's all so much to manage. We need all the hands we can get." Helping hands started to gather, and Emily felt a swell of pride. She knew that despite the fear, this was a moment that would bind them together. They could rise as a community. As her and Lily worked alongside others, she noticed the heaviness of dread beginning to lift slightly, replaced with determination. "Look, Mom," Lily said brightly, pointing towards the flashing lights. "They're helping everyone. Just like Jake." Her daughter's innocent enthusiasm tugged firmly at Emily's heart. Yes, this was why they stayed. This was why they fought to keep hope alive, even as the world spun with uncertainty. As they set to work, the sounds of chaos faded gradually into a rhythm of cooperation. Emily felt a connection with those around her, their hearts beating together in unison. She knew that whatever happened next, they would face it side by side, as one. But even as they worked, Emily's thoughts drifted back to Jake, their bond stretched thin by the distance of an emergency, the hope of his safety tightly woven into her heart. Something deep within whispered a truth she couldn't ignore. With each passing moment, the weight of the night pressed heavier. She needed to find him, to ensure he was safe, to truly unite their fight, and soon. "Lily," she called, crouching down once more, urgency filling her voice, "let us help for a bit longer, and then we need to look for Jake." As Lily nodded earnestly, the glow of determination lit Emily's chest with both anguish and purpose. Would they find Jake? Amidst the chaos? And what would the aftermath reveal about their courage and strength together? Emily and Lily continued to work side by side, but Emily's thoughts wandered, a tumultuous storm of anxiety and hope brewing inside her. Each sound of a siren drew her attention. Each moment felt like an eternity. The urgency in the air wrapped around her, squeezing at her heart as she glanced from Lily to the chaos surrounding them. She could almost feel Jake's presence, lingering like a whisper just out of reach. "Just a little more," she whispered, more to herself than to her daughter, who was now happily passing out bottles of water to volunteers. Emily watched Lily's small hand stretch out to each person, bright-eyed and earnest. Her innocence shone in the midst of darkness, and for a moment, Emily felt a flicker of comfort. "Look at me, Mom. I'm helping," Lily exclaimed, jumping on her toes in delight. The joy on her daughter's face ignited a spark within Emily, reminding her of the strength that came from being part of something bigger. It was a reminder that even in the midst of despair, light could break through. As they worked, Emily scanned the faces of those around her. The first responders were focused, their brows furrowed, but she also noticed a high school teacher, a mechanic, and a group of store clerks all working together. They were a patchwork community woven tighter with every action, every shared glance, every drop of sweat. But her thoughts kept retreating back to Jake. What if he was hurt? What if he needed her? She inhaled deeply, steadying herself. She had chosen to stay here, to help, not to succumb to fear. "Let us take a quick break, okay?" she finally said, gently tugging on Lily's hand. "Let us get some fresh air." Lily pouted for a moment but then nodded. They stepped a bit away from the fray, just enough to catch their breath. The shadows of night surrounded them, punctuated by the glare of the emergency lights, casting ominous shapes that danced across the pavement. "Why do you think Daddy isn't back yet?" Lily asked, her voice small in the cool night air. Emily knelt down again, holding both of Lily's shoulders firmly. "Sometimes when you do something really important, it takes some time. But we believe he's being brave right now, and he'll be home soon. Just like us. We're a team, remember?" Lily nodded but didn't smile, still wrestling with her worry. This was the moment that made Emily's heart crack a little, seeing her daughter bear such concern while wanting to appear strong. It was a weight no child should carry. Suddenly, a loud commotion broke through their quiet moment. A shout echoed from the direction of the street, drawing their attention. Emily straightened, heart racing. Was it a cry for help? "I'll be right back, honey," she said quickly, urgency pushing her forward. Lily tugged on her sleeve. "Mom. I want to come. What if you stay here? Right here. Just wave at me, okay?" Reluctantly, Lily nodded, and Emily forced herself to turn away. Step by step, she moved closer to the chaos, drawn by an invisible tether that pulled her toward the source of the anxiety weaving through the crowd. As she approached, she realized it was a group of medics rushing past, but at the front was a familiar face, Jake's partner, Brian, his face streaked with sweat and dirt, eyes wide with urgency. "Brian!" Emily called out, heart pounding in her chest. "Where's Jake?" As he turned to her, his eyes seemed to darken. "He's still in there, they're trying to get him out." Emily's breath caught in her throat as panic tightened its grip. "What do you mean? Is he okay?" Brian hesitated, the hesitation so palpable it made every second feel agonizingly long. Her heart raced faster, the weight of dread crashing over her. "Mrs. Lewis," he finally said, voice low, "he needs help. They're doing everything they can." Emily's mind swirled, fighting against the rising fear. She wanted to scream, to run, to do something, anything. But something deep inside pushed her to stay grounded. "Then we have to do something," she asserted, her voice cracking slightly but resolute. "We can't just wait here. We have to help." As resolve filled her voice, the chaotic sounds around her faded into a single thought: they wouldn't stop until they found him. But with every passing second, a question loomed: what would they discover when they finally reached Jake? Would they be able to save him in time? She was determined to find out, pushing forward through the crowd. And just as they rounded the last corner, she felt the world freeze, almost as if reality was holding its breath. There, at the edge of the crisis, she could finally see her husband, lying where darkness met light. Could she really face what lay ahead? Was hope enough to guide them both through the storm? Emily's heart raced as she stepped closer, the world around her narrowing to a single point: Jake. The sights and sounds of chaos faded as she moved, the flares overhead dissolving into a blur of color. Her breath came in sharp bursts, each one reminding her of everything that was at stake. "Please, no," she whispered, barely aware of the words spilling from her lips. Jake lay on the ground as medics swarmed around him, their movements urgent yet calculated, but what frozen her in place were the unyielding shadows cast by the emergency lights. Shadows that seemed to envelop him, pulling at her hope even as she fought against it. "Get back!" a voice called from the front line. A medic gestured at her, stern but not unkind. "This area is hazardous. Is he okay?" She managed, a strangled cry caught in her throat, but the medic's attention shifted, and she felt panic clawing at her heart like a wild animal. "Ma'am, we need space." The medic's tone softened slightly, but urgency still clung to him, his eyes darting past her. "No. I need to be there. That's my husband." Emily protested, instinctively moving forward, but the walls of the crowd seemed to thicken around her, trapping her in a current of fear and desperation. Brian caught her arm, his grip firm yet comforting. "I get it. But they have to do their jobs. You need to trust them." Trust, the word echoed in her heart, mingling with doubt. It felt like a foreign concept amid the chaos. She had to cling to it though, for both their sakes. Nausea twisted in her stomach as she forced herself to breathe. Each inhale made her more aware of the swirling anxiety in the air. She turned to Brian, her eyes pleading, the unshed tears glistening in her gaze. "What if Emily?" Brian interrupted, fierce determination lighting up his features. "He is strong. You know Jake. He won't give up easily. Just keep your faith." For a moment, Emily found solace in the warmth of his words. Jake was fierce, stubborn even. She could still hear his laughter at the dinner table, the way he tucked Lily in at night, the promises he made for their future. Her mind shifted back to the crowd, to Lily. She had to go back to her daughter. "Lily!" she shouted, but her voice was drowned in the cacophony. "I'll get her." Brian's resolve bolstered her, and he sprinted off toward Lily, leaving her with nothing but a gnawing anxiety wrapping tighter around her heart. Emily turned back toward Jake, desperation clawing at her chest. She wanted to scream, shake someone until answers poured out. But all she could do was stand there, a small figure against the backdrop of tumult. As time crawled, she spotted movement among the medics. Their whispers intensified, fingers pointing, hands working with a furious urgency. She leaned closer. Jake lay still, a patchwork of medical equipment surrounding him. An oxygen mask obscured his face, and she couldn't see the reassuring smile she so desperately wanted. "Jake!" She breathed, heart racing as fear washed over her again. Would he even hear her call? The air around her shifted. Families clustered together, some praying, others comforting one another. She could feel the collective hope, a tangible weight permeating through the crowd like a warm blanket, and something stirred within her. Just then, through the mass of bodies and flashing lights, she saw the medics lifting Jake onto a stretcher. "They're moving him." Emily gasped, her pulse quickening. They were getting him out. Hope sparked like lighter fluid. "Jake!" She yelled again, launching herself closer to the action. He flickered in and out of view, but she could see him now, could almost reach out and touch him. But as they passed by, one of the medics caught her eye. "One moment," he shouted, holding up a hand. "We need to stabilize him first. Please step back." Back. That word reverberated endlessly in her mind. She wanted to reach out, to grasp his hand, to assure him everything would be okay. This man, who had always been her anchor, needed her, but she felt powerless. Suddenly, the sirens blared loudly, cutting through her thoughts. It was no longer just the sound of the emergency vehicles, it was a call to action, a desperate plea that pulled her from her anguish, and in that moment, Emily realized she had to fight. Not just for herself or Lily, but for Jake. The storm inside her shifted, brewing into an unstoppable force that propelled her forward. With her chin up, she faced the chaos with renewed determination. "This isn't over," she whispered to herself. She had to believe. Despite the uncertainty, despite the fear, she would not lose hope. But as she edged closer, a disturbing sound shattered her resolve. An impenetrable silence swept over the crowd, followed by a collective gasp. What had just happened? What did that silence mean for Jake? She would know soon enough. Each beat of her heart echoed the urgent questions swirling in her mind. Time was slipping away. How long before she faced the truth? Emily's world spun in a disorienting blur as the silence deepened around her. The medic's frantic motions transformed into a mesmerizing dance, though she felt more like a spectator than a participant. Was it fear or hope that wrapped around her like a shroud? "What is happening?" She called out, but her words lingered unanswered in the void. The air felt thick, almost suffocating as the hushed crowd leaned in, sharing unspoken worries like a dark cloud overhead. Just then, a woman's voice cut through the silence. "They're not responding." The panic choked her words, and Emily's heart plummeted. Her instinct screamed at her to run forward, to throw herself into that chaos and do something, anything. Yet, her body felt rooted to the spot. "Jake!" She cried out once more, desperation breaking through as she squeezed her eyes shut, sending a silent plea into the ether. "Please!" Suddenly, the tension shattered as one of the medics barked a command. "Clear!" The crowd collectively held its breath, the weight of it palpable. Emily stood frozen, her heart hammering in her chest like a prisoner seeking escape. The medic repeated, "Clear." Then there was a quick burst of sound, sharp and sudden, followed by a moment that felt eternal. She opened her eyes, watching in horror as Jake's body jerked slightly. Come on," she murmured under her breath. She rocked back and forth, inching closer to the action, her hands trembling. If only she could touch him, give him something to hold on to, remind him that he wasn't alone. The silence didn't last long. Tension morphed into murmurs, a swell of hushed conversations that rose and fell like waves crashing against the shore. Some people were praying, others lighting candles, each light a flicker of yearning in the dark. Emily felt a raw urge to join them, to unite under the banner of hope while waiting for her lifeline. "Emily!" Brian's voice broke through the din, slicing past her frantic thoughts. He emerged with Lily, her little girl cradled in his arms, wide-eyed and expressionless, as if the world around them had crumbled while she was lost in dreams. Mommy. Lily reached for her, and it was as if the breath of life had returned to Emily. She rushed to scoop her daughter up, clutching her close, a tether to reality that grounded her. "Shoo, baby, it's okay," Emily whispered, holding tightly, knowing deep down nothing was okay. "Not yet. Is Daddy going to be okay?" The innocent question hung in the air, heavy and weighted. Tears streaked down Emily's cheeks as she looked into Lily's big, trusting eyes. "I hope so, sweetie." Her throat tightened. It was all she could muster, an echo of the hope she clung to in her heart. The medics worked fervently, surrounded by flashing lights that flickered ominously. Each moment felt like an eternity, and Emily realized she was no longer just a spectator. She found herself on the brink of unwavering determination. "Lily," she murmured as she kneeled, looking her daughter in the eye, "we have to be strong for Daddy. Will he hear me?" Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper, pure innocence and belief shining through the haze. "Yes," Emily replied, the conviction strengthening her voice. "He loves you so much. And we have to show him that we're here." With caution, she set Lily down, held her tiny hands in her own, and raised them above their heads. "Let us send him our love." Together, they shouted into the chaos, "We love you, Daddy." The sounds around them seemed to fade, all focus narrowing in on their little family. Emily's heart soared for a moment as she felt a flicker of warmth, the kind of connection that could cross any chasm between them. But it was cut short by the urgent call from the medics. "Get him stabilized now. We're moving out." They lifted the stretcher, Jake's lifeless form barely visible beneath the equipment. As they wheeled him away, Emily felt her heart sink again, the weight of despair threatening to pull her under, but in the depths of her frustration, something powerful awakened within her, a fierce resolve. She would not be stopped. She would follow them. She had to. "Don't leave me," she shouted, chasing after them, people parting in her wake. The crowd gasped, but she didn't hear it. All that mattered was Jake, and the presage of something monumental shaping up ahead. The path stretched out before her, uncharted and uncertain, but she felt something shift in the air, a crackling energy, a relentless determination stirring within her. This wasn't just about holding on to hope anymore. Maybe she would become the very anchor Jake had always been for her. But as she ran, a chilling doubt whispered in her mind. Would her strength be enough? Would it reach him in time? Each step sent her closer to an unanswered truth, one that would change everything for them all. Emily felt the energy of the crowd charge like a jolt of electricity. Panic and hope intermingled as she surged toward the medics, their frantic movements propelling her forward despite the nagging doubt spiraling in her chest. "Jake!" she called again, voice breaking against the tide of anxiety. The blue and red lights flickered like a heartbeat, casting shadows that danced across her face. Behind her, Lily's small hand clutched tightly at her own, her trusting gaze fixed on her mother. The two of them shared an unspoken bond, each step bringing them closer to the man they loved. Every breath they took together mirrored their resolve. "We're coming, Daddy." As they reached the medical team, Jake's figure became clearer. The sight of him stirred a primal mix of fear and determination within Emily. He lay on the stretcher, still wrapped in the intensity of the moment, confusion etched on his brow. But amid the chaos, she glimpsed a flicker of recognition when he cracked his eyelids. "Emily, Lily," his voice floated to her, low and strained as he fought to gather the remnants of his strength. Relief mixed with sorrow surged through her. "I'm here," she shouted fiercely, ready to bridge the gap that fear had erected between them. The medics moved with urgency, but Emily felt a twinge of defiance. She stepped closer, driving back the hesitation that threatened to consume her. "Jake! You're going to be okay. We're right here." The weight of their shared love hung in the air, a tether knitting the corners of their fractured lives together. "Hold on tight for me," he murmured, grasping her outstretched hand, his fingers like a lifeline amidst the swirl of uncertainty. "Always," Emily whispered, tears welling up. She fought with every breath to keep the panic at bay. Each beat of her heart resonated with the truth love didn't falter in the face of fear, it amplified it. With one final glance toward the crowd, Emily steeled herself and whispered, "We can do this together." The conviction behind her words pulsed like a drumbeat, bold, unwavering. Just then, Jake's eyes focused. "We're together," he breathed, latching onto her shared vow. The energy shifted, cascading through them, weaving threads of hope around the tension in the air. "Get him stabilized now. Let's move out," barked a medic, urgency prickling every word. The team lifted the stretcher, and in that tight moment, Emily knelt beside him, a fierce protective instinct surging to the surface. Their kinship ignited, grounded deep within every promise they had made together. "Hold on. We're coming to help you," Lily echoed, her little voice ringing with belief that steadied Emily's spirit. Emily nodded, squeezing Jake's hand tighter. "You cannot let go. We're waiting for you at home. The world is brighter with you in it." As they rushed toward the waiting ambulance, they flew past onlookers, whose eyes shimmered with empathy, a supportive network forming around them, binding them all in solidarity. A wave of determination coursed through Emily's veins. "We will fight through this," she declared, the words flying free as she embraced the strength her community offered. Minutes felt like hours as they reached the vehicle. Inside, the medic focused on Jake, who lay still, the rhythm of life echoing in computer monitors as they worked to stabilize him. "Get ready for transport," one medic barked, and Emily's heart raced as she held onto Jake's hand like it was the very anchor keeping her afloat. As he was loaded into the ambulance, she felt an unbreakable connection. Her heart thrummed with the knowledge that it was not just Jake who would emerge from this, they would emerge as a family reshaped by their struggles, fortified by their love. Together, they could rise above. In a fleeting moment, their eyes locked, and mortality slipped to the background. Jake whispered with fierce determination, "We've got this," his voice a gentle caress that promised he was still fighting. "Always," Emily affirmed. And then with a rush, the ambulance doors swung shut, sealing them within their shared hope, surrounded by the thrum of emergency sirens and the quickening pulse of life striving to prevail. With every twist and turn taken on that journey, dread was replaced with conviction, a shared belief in the resilience of family. As the lights faded in the distance, Emily turned to Lily, whose face beamed with faith. "Daddy is going to be okay. We just need to stay strong, right?" "Yes," Lily declared with such intensity that it aimed to pierce the veil of fear hovering over them. The power of their collective spirit wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Emily knew they were not just fighting for Jake that night, they were fighting for the future, for the possibility to create hope anew amidst the wreckage left in shadows. "Let us get ready to welcome him back," Emily declared, determination streaming through her. The strength enveloping her heart propelled her mind to think of the beauty yet to come, the way it felt to stand together, interconnected not just by blood but by shared battles faced head-on. They would not just endure, they would transform. As the ambulance sped along the quiet streets, Emily felt sure of one thing: they would emerge not into mere survival, but into a brighter horizon, ready to embrace life's possibilities, side by side, stronger than ever before, because sometimes, love was the only weapon they needed to confront the darkness. Now was the moment to rise, and they would soar. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that could transform lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this powerful transformation. This is the moment to stand with us. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Real fans understand the importance of supporting the journey we share together.